Hi there, guys. It's your boy Merchant today, and I've got a guest for you. This is Latrin Sky. He is new to me. I'm new to this server. We've been conversing a lot lately. He's got some great ideas, some great builds in the future. Let's listen to what he has to say. It is on you, Sky.
Hey everyone, hopefully you're doing good today. You can call me Latrian Sky, whatever name that you decide you want to throw out there. Usually, when I'm not on the server, I'm usually busy working with Amazon or tending to my family. But as of lately, things have changed and I've been able to be on Minecraft more than I have at work. This kind of opened up the opportunity for me to be able to start working with more complicated builds instead of minor ones.
Now,
And given how, go ahead.
now, what kind of builds are we talking about? Give a general idea for the crowd.
So, usually I've built just in terms of giant structures, I've tried building a more realistic type of anvil. And the type of style that I usually go for when I'm building is not the generic, I'm going to say the brick layout, where the sides are all flat and everything. I understand how that may seem a bit complicated for some people where it doesn't necessarily make it look nice, but in a sense, it opens up more opportunity to work with design and any form of ideas for it to come out.
So what you're saying is, while not focusing on the actual look of the thing, you're focusing on its functionality.
In a sense, it can be the function that, or it can be with function, essentially, yes. But at the same time, I want it to be visually pleasing for other players. Now, that leads into something that I was wanting to build within the server.
Okay.
So, at this current moment of time, I'm trying to work with a 1200 by 1200 area. I still have to get the necessary requirements in order to protect that type of land.
Uh,
But
for
once I do that, go
for
ahead.
for those of you who don't know, 1200 by 1200 on this server is a lot of claim blocks to be able to accomplish. At least,
Um, Go ahead.
I said, at least for new players like me.
Well, in a sense, yes and no. It can be complicated. If they do set up their system right, then they can just buy at least one claim block for every $250. At least that's how it's set in the server.
Okay.
But as of right now, there's only two major things that I'm trying to figure out right now. Number one is taking that 1200 by 1200. I would have to strip that entire area down to near bedrock level. I want it to be as flat as possible without it actually touching bedrock. That way I can work more with
Now, are you
where I
do
would
you
want certain
do you
things.
know if this server that we're working on has the traditional flat bedrock or the rigid bedrock? Are you confident that you are able to hit flat ground down there?
There is not flat ground. That's why I said near bedrock. As soon as I start seeing bedrock, I want to try to start leveling it out on across that area.
Okay. Funny thing about flat area, I came across this really flat area earlier, and I was like, "Oh no way! A great spot to build a castle." Nope, it was claimed by somebody else. Someone spent the time to clear off this, was a 5,000 by 5,000 block radius of nothing but cleared grass area just to make it look nice.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Usually players have different ideas in mind, and usually it's either comes for farms or they're playing with other people. It depends entirely on the individual that ends up having that area.
Much like my warehouse area, which doesn't look very pretty but operates at maximum functionality. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. I
So,
I moved my home, by the way. I'm not. I don't. My home base isn't near the. My workshop is no longer near the ocean spot that it was in, and I no longer own that claim. I made room for a claim in the end, so I can create a monster arena for players where I will have a bunch of spawners in one area gathering up monsters, and players who come in and can defeat 10 waves of monsters will get a full set of netherite armor, tinker armor.
Oh, that actually sounds like a good plan to kind of
Some
create some activity inside the server.
Right, some kind of fun mini game. Like it might not be something as OP as Tinker armor because Tinker Netherite armor costs me $500,000 just to make, plus some.
No, no, but what you can do is just have some more basic gear. Either that or you can have some higher quality materials that you can put out there as long as you can afford to put it out there.
Okay, okay,
It doesn't necessarily have to be armor pieces, it could be just pieces of materials that people just don't have the time to sit there and make, or they just don't feel like making it.
I've been there. I have been in that position.
So, kind of backtracking for a moment, in terms of stripping everything down to bedrock, the difficulty is, of course, there's going to be areas where there's going to be a massive amount of water or there's going to be some lava pockets. And I'm going to have to work with lighting in a way nothing spawns, at least in the work area. I'm also
Okay.
going to need to find some mycelium because the mycelium is actually going to be part of the groundwork for the area.
No, what exactly is that? I don't think I've heard
So
of that.
mycelium is usually that block that you can find over by mushroom biomes, if I'm correct.
Are you talking about the grayish, tannish, grass-looking one?
Yeah.
Okay.
And to cover that whole region to keep it dark, I need, as I've already done the calculations for it, unestimated about 1.4 million tinted glass blocks.
Say again. I missed that last part.
I said, unfortunately, another thing that I'm going to have to go through is getting about 1.4 million tinted glass blocks to kind of cover the region of the build. I'm going to be building it up towards the sky limit so it keeps the light from affecting the area.
Okay. That sounds like a great idea, though, the way you have it thought up of. So do
It
you?
definitely will.
Oh,
It definitely will take some time. I do have at least some amethyst geodes already claimed. I will have to connect them all at some point. But as long as I sit there and AFK for a while, the crystals will grow and I can go and harvest them overnight.
okay. Now, do I use a silk touch pickaxe to grab up the crystal buds?
If
Or
you're if you're wanting to grab the actual crystal cluster, you would. But if you're wanting to make tinted glass, you would need the actual shards, which you get from breaking the crystals.
okay, so the cluster won't break if I use silk touch, right?
It will break, but it'll give you the actual cluster that you need to make
To continue
the
growing, right?
crystal Historia.
To keep growing, right?
Well, it'll keep growing if you break the crystal itself, but if you break the budding amethyst block, not only will it not drop, but you can never get it again.
Okay, so you can't pick up the budding amethyst. So,
No, you cannot pick up the block.
all right.
Any that block is what the crystals grow out of.
Okay.
Even if you try moving it with a piston, silk touch, nothing at all will cause it to drop.
All right. Well, that's good news because I would have sat there and tried to pick up budding amethyst. I don't work with amethyst, so I don't know too much about it.
No, that's completely understandable. I learned that partially the hard way, but thankfully that was before I had joined this server.
Okay. And amethyst does have a lot of uses in this server too, as well as copper. You want to give a few examples by chance, if you could think of any?
As of right now, copper is a major use whenever it comes to the actual machinery, because either you're having to build copper wires for the electromagnets, or in terms of crystals, you're using it for the more magical tools and purposes of the server. Now, in terms of the actual amethyst cluster, I have not touched on that yet.
All right. So I'm going to sit here and I'm going to listen. I don't have any more questions for the time being. I want you to talk about. I want you to talk about your experiences so far within the last week.
So far in the server, the people are very helpful. Now, due to some issues that I've had in the past, where I was in other servers, I've tried making my builds, and
You've got.
everything just
I,
gone wrong.
I get it. You got some. You got somebody sitting there making your game hard.
Yeah, I won't say names, but there are a couple server staff from another server that have ultimately destroyed a year and a half worth of work.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. I've met a few of them. I had a server admin come in one time, destroy something, and tell me that's not allowed to disappear. And the other
Oh,
admins go, I don't even know what he's talking about.
no, they were more so disappointed that I didn't join their build team, which in the end, I just kind of left without saying a word. They ultimately didn't last much longer after that. So, going back on the topic, the build that I'm trying to go for right now is just kind of a barren wasteland, but not in terms of a wasteland where it's a desert. I'm trying to go for a land that's absolutely ravaged by hostile mobs. I'm going
Like
to
Fallout.
have
Like
kind of,
like
yes,
Fallout.
but most of the ground is going to be that purplish gray podzol, or not podzol, mycelium, my bad.
Okay.
So that mycelium is kind of, I play with the lighting a bit, but it's going to go in with the destroyed villages that I'm going to have scattered across the areas. And at the center of it all, I'm planning to build a gigantic volcano. Now, how I exactly want it to look, I'm not sure yet. The one thing that is definite and is set is that I'm going to have to basically take the measurements of real life volcanoes and try to see if I can convert that into a proper volcano inside of Minecraft. Where there's going to be the lava trails, I'm going
Oh,
to have the
I can
outer
help you.
edges.
I can help you with that. I've built so many scale models of statues, mountains, castles. I'm good at the whole replicating realistic structures or
Oh, that's fine.
terraforming
Uh,
structures at least.
the only reason why I say that is because when it comes to obsidian, I know for a fact I'm going to have that lining the outside edges of any lava based stream that I'm going to have going from the top of the volcano towards the bottom. Now, in terms of black rock, deep slate, or any other block I think would be dark and look nice for the volcano, it depends. But I would still have to be using a type of material that would make it decent enough for me to actually be able to build a city inside that volcano.
Okay.
Now, when I build the volcano, it's going to be really touch and go because I know the type of design I'm trying to go for, but I don't know if it'll necessarily work out just yet.
So
I know
just
that there's certain structures I can make because the sizing of it is not that much of a problem.
okay. Okay. I apologize if I might interrupt you sometimes. Sometimes my questions and my curiosity gets the best of me ahead before I can stop myself.
No, you're perfectly fine. I'm completely fine with the questions, actually.
Alrighty. Well, as a fellow gamer, within the last couple days, I've noticed there have been some slight activity with new players. What would you say to the new players that would help benefit them when they start the game?
As of right now, they should try to put their focus onto making a base somewhere. Now, for those who don't know already, I don't think it explains it inside the book. But if you walk over to an area and you just toss a chest down, if you don't already have a claim, it'll make a small claim around that chest for you to be able to work with. Then later on, once you get a gold shovel, you can expand the claim however you want, or you can move it elsewhere.
Oh, that's cool.
But
I didn't even know that. I went in straight in, struggled trying to figure out how to claim from the very get go.
yeah, I mean, for a while, it does make it a little bit difficult. And actually, now that I think about it, it's not even a gold shovel in this server. It's
No,
actually the claim
it's
arrow.
an arrow and a feather, I believe.
Yeah, claim arrow, claim feather. But either way, a chest still works as being able to claim a certain area right away.
Okay.
That it's kind of insurance for the newer players to be able to protect their stuff right away, and they don't
I
have to
get
worry
it.
about carrying it all.
So that way, when they finally like, oh, I'm gonna put down a thing, I don't know how to claim, I'm having some bad luck, I'm just gonna slap this bad boy down and be safe. Is that
Yeah, that's
essentially it?
ultimately how it is. And the other thing that I would recommend is, for right now, focus on just what you can do in terms of vanilla. Don't worry about slime fun and all the other stuff necessarily too early. Because if you can focus on getting yourself together, getting yourself set up, and just making that little bit of extra money from being able to sell crops or even start making your own tinker items, because tinker items are pretty cheap to make as long as you stay in the early stages, which is in terms of armor, leather,
I completely
chain.
skipped the early stages. I went straight for the high leagues. I saw somebody with Tinker armor on, and I was like, oh, I want that. I'm making myself a pair of Tinker Netherite right away.
No, I understand that.
So much money.
The only reason why I bring that up is because I know that some players don't necessarily feel comfortable shooting for the top right away.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I just feel like as long as I can explain, hey, this is a good area to start off with, because you still have to worry about being able to repair items. In the MC MMO plugin that's there, you use an iron block to repair items. And to repair items, you usually need materials that make up that item.
Gotcha.
Now, it's only the really primary ones, which
I'm
is
gonna
like,
give I'm gonna give some advice of my own to new players, which help me avoid that stage altogether. When you first use your armor and you come into here, go straight to P Warp E-Man. Alright? How I did is I immediately went for protection. Or not protection, blood mending. You get yourself a warped mushroom, stick it inside your Tinker's Workshop tool thingy, or I forgot what it was called. Um, and it'll do rejuvenation. As long as you spend the first half hour of your time making sure that blood mending's up, you will, or even that, or auto repair, you will never have to worry about spending money on repaired items.
I do agree with that. And that's where I was saying, usually the tinker items are easier to repair in terms of being able to get an early enchantment for them. Because in terms of getting enchantments for them, all you need is a specific item like vines. All you need to throw auto repair on it is just a single vine. Now, of course, you have to level up the tool first by using it. But as long as you can start throwing that stuff on, you don't necessarily have to worry about repairing it ever.
Okay. Alright, well, then in case that things, why don't we share some casual information? We've just been talking about a lot of what to do and what you've been building on. Let's talk about your favorite mobs here on the game itself so far, from new to old.
That's a really tough question in general. I know that the oldest one that I've ever worked with was called Mice Workers. And back then, this was a really high-end mod. All it did was allow you to place two separate chests down, and you had to use an item frame. And whatever you put inside the item frame is the type of job that you gave this mice worker as soon as it was spawned in.
Okay,
As long as you
that's
provided
cool.
the tools, there was another chest that once it did its job, it would shove all the materials into that chest.
So you're saying if I made this little mousy mouse and I programmed, or I didn't program it, but I gave it the what is it called? If I slapped a pickaxe into the middle of this item frame, that this mouse would go around mining for me and drop it off into an output chest of some sort?
It was not necessarily a mouse. They did call it mice workers. But yes, you do have the general idea down.
Okay. That's still pretty cool, no matter how you think about it.
Yeah. So to continue on with that subject, it was it was really kind of a broken mod per se because they had their own pathing. And what I mean by they had their own pathing is that they would actually go if you had
I'm familiar with what you mean by pathing, but the viewers might not be. Pathing is a set type of AI tool that some mobs have to be able to get around.
well, what they do is not only does it move around, but if you built a woodsman, for example, if you gave it wood and materials uh, in the chest along with its actual tool, it could go and build an actual fenced in area around the trees.
Oh,
So
that's cool.
while it did that, the miner one, for example, would dig down a certain amount, not straight down, but actually stair the way down, dig forward quite a distance, and any empty areas or any pockets of lava, anything at all, would either be removed, which is the lava in the water, and any empty areas that it encounters, it would end up filling it with cobblestone. So that way it can continue its path forward without any hostile mobs or anything attacking it, or without it falling off.
Okay. So
That was
essentially it had its own little safe setup going on, or safe. I don't know what I'm trying to say. I do know what I'm trying to say here, but I don't know what I'm trying to say here. If that makes any
no, it had its
sense.
own safety system, yeah. So that was probably the earliest one that I've ever worked with, but the more complicated one that I'm enjoying right now is definitely what's inside the server right now between Slime Fun, MCMMO, and Tinker's Mod.
Oh
All
yeah.
of them kind of fit well
Oh,
with each other.
don't forget about pyro fishing. Pyro fishing's pretty entertaining on its own as well.
Well, to be honest, I have not tried that yet.
No?
I'm still working to try and make sure that I'm completely set up first before I go over there
All right.
and
Well,
start doing that.
when you do the pyro fishing, I haven't explored much into it myself, but I just barely started. I guarantee you're gonna make money a whole lot faster setting it onto fishing.
I understand that. That's
Because,
you. Go ahead.
oh, sorry, I had a passing thought. It's on you. This is your turn.
I mean, usually whenever it comes to something that's in terms of, as you said, pyro fishing, usually it's stuff that has the higher grade materials or just the higher value items coming out of it is where usually most of the profit is going to be coming out of.
Okay. Do you ever play with any? You ever play? Have you ever played the what is it called? The mod that has the dark dimension.
No, I have not actually.
You have not. I've played with it. It is fun. I like to create my own little worlds, Minecraft worlds, mod the crap out of them. And so far, the most interesting one I've had, or not interesting, but definitely the most fun I've had, and I enjoy, will always be either um, Chisel and Bits and the um, mutated mobs function.
I do believe I've heard about the mutated mobs. Now, that's only because I watch some YouTube videos
Oh,
here and there,
that's
but
crazy.
I haven't necessarily touched base on it.
Mutate.
Usually,
They
the
got a vested zombie on the mutated mobs thing, and essentially it's a zombie with like its brain kind of. You could see part of its brain out, and
Mhm.
when you kill this zombie, it breaks up into the 5 body parts, and the 5 body parts start to individually attack you too.
Yeah, so that version of mutated, I have not heard, and that's actually pretty interesting in my opinion.
Yeah, you never lived until you had a zombie arm just kind of worm towards you like a worm. It was kind of interesting.
So that does make me think. The type of mutated mob I've heard and that I've seen of is that they usually have like mutated and super mutated. I forget exactly what it was that
Like
I heard
different
it from.
variants, right?
Yes.
Okay. Um, let me see. You're currently not home, correct? You are
Yes, I'm
currently
currently not
talking
home right
mobile.
now.
You're talking to us mobile somewhere around the world, wherever you please.
Yeah, that's usually how I get the time to be able to talk one on one with people. Because
Okay.
usually when I'm at the house, I'm having to.
Way too much noise and tasks. I get it. You're the family man.
Yeah, that's one way of putting it.
But on all serious note, this is a great talk here on Twisted Feature. We're going to take a break real quick, and I'm going to talk about some things that people that need to. Now, what I'm about to bring up is for 21 and over. If you're not, please change the video. If you are, go ahead. Either way, beware of what I'm about to say. The subjects of adulthood when it comes to around your area. I'm a pothead, okay? When playing Minecraft, I find that I get bored, and I often build things that remind me of my pot life. Like in-game large bongs or pipes, or even just like bushes that look like pot leaves. As a
Okay.
person yourself, do you ever integrate items or things that you do around your daily life into your game?
That's really a tough question to ask. I mean, there are some that I do feel like take a pretty accurate representation of real life and game. But then there's some that don't necessarily feel like it was given the proper time that it was needed to become as good as it should be.
Okay, so just like it just doesn't have the presence that it should.
Yeah, I mean, there are many. I'll just say, for example, there's many types of furniture mods where, I mean, I feel like with as long as Minecraft has been out now,
There could be so much more.
yeah, I mean, even just simple furniture that they could just throw in there themselves, they can do it. There's
You
stuff that
you
they've
would
thrown in
think
there that's completely useless.
you would think they would have the basics down at very least for vehicles with how many vehicle games there are nowadays.
Yeah, that's true, but I feel like having any more advanced machinery, depending on what it is, would ruin the style of Minecraft.
Not even that. Just put a bicycle in there where you have to like click the button to bike and it will repair after you have to repair it with like an iron ingot or something every so often.
Yeah, that would be completely fine. Say, for instance, as you said, not necessarily an iron ingot, but give the iron chain more use.
Oh
As of right
yes.
now, all it does is just hang from the ceiling, and that's it.
Yeah, that's perfect. I got maybe give copper some more feeling to it, you know? Like maybe if you put a circle of copper inside the crafting table, it'll create a wheel.
Now, the one thing that kind of touches base on the discussion of iron chains is that I feel like there's a whole bunch of use that iron chains can be using,
Oh yeah.
and it's just not there. Same
I
for instance, chainmail. In
chainmail.
vanilla, you can't even craft chainmail using iron chains.
No, you have to use iron nuggets, I believe, right?
I
No.
don't even think you use nuggets either.
And that you do have a fair point. Another case. It can be used for an added upgrade to what is it? Beware. So you know how in the vanilla craft there's not really anything to protect you from bee stings except for that fire. You can create your own mesh netting for the bee or a fish net. Chain can come in handy in so many different crafting styles, and I fully agree on that.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they dropped the ball when it comes to new content because there's some stuff that can be used quite a lot, and then there's some stuff that just kind of goes unnoticed.
Now, here's something that might have been cool to add in, and I just thought of it right now as we're talking. What if they were to add in a feature which allows you to put in a glass panel and a painting in there together, and you're able to create like I don't like a what's it? What are those? A stained glass picture.
Oh, so you're talking about the actual? I know exactly what you're talking about.
Is
I
that
like to call them murals.
is that an actual thing that they got for it? Because that'd be cool. Stained glass. Because they got the colored
And
glass, but think about that. You know how that single piece of glass is like that, but think about it like someone took the chisel and bits and took some time to chip a single piece of glass out to make it identically like one of those pictures.
I feel like it could be done. I feel like it would kind
Take,
of take too much time, though,
that's
depending
my
on
thought.
how.
That's my thought as well. It'd take a little more time than necessary just for that one project. But worth it in the end for those art enthusiasts.
Yeah, I definitely feel like that there could be some sort of base behind it, but I don't think it would be as big as some of the other mods that are out there currently.
Alright. Well, I think I'm out of questions, Asa. Is there anything you would like to add on top of things, any future plans that me and you plan to build here in the future, or that you plan to build, or something?
As of right now, I'm keeping everything on the down low in terms of what I'm doing. There are some things that I will be starting to request that I need materials of,
Did you guys hear that?
but
That means my lips are sealed too. You ain't getting shit from me.
but other than that, I usually try to keep the design and everything. Not, I don't want to keep it open, but at the same time, I don't want to keep it shut. I usually have to play with the designs before I can get it just right enough to where I feel like it's good.
That's awesome. Well, I mean, that's how I feel sometimes with some of it too. And I'll be honest, I'm not big on letting people know with what I'm building, if I'm building something grandiose like you are. So I fully understand. You want to make it like a red curtain draw. So with that being said, folks, here at Twisted Feature, we'll cover more of Latrin Sky's builds, and we will continue these conversations as we go down the road, because I'm sure he's got some great ideas. But with that being said, check you later. You enjoy your day. Hit like and subscribe, and me and Latrin will see you another time. Anything you want
You
to
all
tell
have a
them?
good day.
That's right. All right, later.